In the small, seemingly idyllic town of Maplewood, Sheriff Jennifer Lawson was the epitome of justice. Her name was synonymous with safety, strength, and lawfulness. For years, Jennifer had served as the cornerstone of the community, her dedication to upholding the law earning her the unwavering respect of every citizen. She was a symbol of pride for the town, a beacon of protection in an otherwise quiet world. Every morning, Jennifer would ride into town, her majestic white stallion trotting proudly down the dusty streets. The sun's rays gleamed off her sheriff's badge, casting a radiant glow that seemed to light the way. People would stop in their tracks to admire her, tipping their hats in respect as she passed by. Women would smile warmly, their gazes filled with admiration, while children whispered tales of her courage and bravery. The Maplewood Gazette, the town's trusted local newspaper, regularly published glowing headlines such as, "Sheriff Lawson brings peace to our streets," and "Under Lawson's watch, Maplewood is safer than ever." Jennifer was adored. She was trusted. She was the very foundation of Maplewood's sense of security. Crime had nearly vanished since she took office, with the streets becoming so safe that people left their doors unlocked at night. There were no robberies, no disturbances, no assaults. The townspeople believed Jennifer was the perfect Sherifa woman who embodied justice in every sense. But there was a side to Sheriff Jennifer Lawson that no one knew, a side that would shock them all. As the sun dipped below the horizon each night, the streets of Maplewood would quieten, and the town would settle into a peaceful slumber. Yet for Jennifer, the night was far from peaceful. She shed her law-abiding persona, leaving behind the badge and the uniform. She transformed into someone completely different, someone dark, dangerous, and lethal. By night, Jennifer Lawson became Jade, the leader of a ruthless criminal empire that operated in the shadows. Jade was everything Jennifer wasn't. She was cold, calculating, and merciless. While Jennifer was loved by the people, Jade was feared by those who crossed her path. No one knew that the town's beloved sheriff was the same woman who orchestrated heists, smuggling operations, and even murder under the cover of darkness. Her criminal empire was built carefully, with meticulous precision. She led a gang that terrorized the region, leaving a trail of destruction and chaos. Every night, Jennifer's transformation was complete. She donned a black wig, hid her blonde locks, and applied heavy makeup that gave her sharp, menacing features. Her sheriff's badge was replaced with a silver dagger tucked in her boot, and a leather jacket hid her sheriff's uniform. In the eyes of her gang, Jade was a mysterious, beautiful, and deadly Ladera woman who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. Jennifer had been living this double life for years, managing to fool everyone in Maplewood. By day, she was the sheriff who solved crimes and ensured the safety of the town. By night, she was the mastermind behind a growing criminal network. But every night, as she looked into the mirror, doubt crept into her mind. How much longer could she keep this up? How much longer could she live a lie? Then came a night that would change everything. One warm summer evening, after a long day of playing the role of the law-abiding sheriff, Jennifer returned to her small cabin on the outskirts of town. The moment she stepped inside, she began her transformation into Jade. She tied back her blonde hair, concealing it beneath a dark wig. Her makeup became sharper, darker. The sheriff's badge was tucked away, replaced by the cold steel of a dagger. Tonight, her target was a businessman named Howard Clark, who had recently arrived in town. He was staying at the Golden Oaken Hotel, the most luxurious establishment in Maplewood. Clark was known for carrying large amounts of cash, as he often made business investments while traveling. Jennifer had been observing him for days, noting his fondness for whiskey, his arrogance, and his tendency to flaunt his wealth. He was the perfect mark for Jade's next heist. With a seductive smile and an air of mystery, Jade walked into the hotel bar where Clark was enjoying a drink. The room fell silent as she entered, her leather boots clicking sharply against the wooden floor. She was a woman who commanded attention, and Clark Halrietti, a few drinks deep, was no exception. He grinned when he saw her approach and invited her to sit. She accepted, leaning in slightly as she spoke, her voice low and inviting. She played the part of a flirtatious stranger effortlessly, her every word designed to draw him in further. As they exchanged pleasantries, Clark was completely entranced by her charm. He couldn't help but feel as though he was the only man in the world. When Jade was near, after several drinks, Jade suggested they continue their conversation in private. Clark, eager and somewhat drunk, agreed immediately. He followed her back to her room, unaware that he was walking straight into a carefully laid trap. Once inside, Jade offered Clark another drink, laced with sleeping powder. Within minutes, Clark was passed out on the bed, snoring loudly. Jade rifled through his belongings, her heart racing with excitement. There it waist briefcase filled with cash. She smiled to herself, pleased with her haul. This would fund her gang's operations for weeks to come. But just as she was about to leave, her second-in-command, Patrick, burst into the room. His face was pale, and his voice was full of panic. "Boss, we've got a problem," he whispered urgently. "Someone's been asking questions. They think the sheriff is onto us." Jennifer's blood ran cold. For years, she had been so careful, so meticulous. No one had ever come close to discovering her secret. But now, someone had connected the dots. Someone new. Patrick's voice shook as he continued, "We need to lay low. People are talking. Maybe it's just rumors, but it's better to be safe than sorry." For a moment, Jennifer's world seemed to crumble. Could someone really have figured it out? Could the sheriff's office be closing in on her? But she forced herself to stay calm. She couldn't afford to let fear control her. "We stick to the plan," she said firmly, her voice betraying none of the panic that was bubbling up inside. "We don't stop until I say so." But as the night wore on, Jennifer couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to go terribly wrong. The next morning, she sat at her desk in the sheriff's office, her stomach churning with unease. She tried to focus on her duty, sorting through paperwork and responding to minor complaints, but her thoughts kept drifting back to Patrick's warning. Who had seen her? Who could know? Just then, the door opened, and Deputy Thomas entered. His face was grim, his eyes locked on hers with an expression she had never seen before. "Sheriff, we need to talk," he said, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. Jennifer's heart skipped a beat. She had known Thomas for years. He was her most trusted ally, the one person she believed she could rely on. But now, something felt different. "We've got a witness," Thomas said, his voice low. "A traveler who passed through town last night. They claim they saw someone who looks just like you leaving the scene of a robbery." Jennifer's blood ran cold. Her worst fear had come true. Someone had seen her, someone new, but she couldn't let it show. She had to maintain her composure. "That's impossible," she said, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. "I've been here all night. You can ask anyone." Thomas hesitated, his face filled with doubt. "Of course, Sheriff, but maybe you should take the day off. Let me handle things for now." Jennifer nodded, trying to suppress the growing panic inside her. She left the office, her mind racing. Who had seen her? Who could possibly know her secret? That night, as she prepared to step into her role as Jade once more, the world seemed different. The streets were quieter, the shadows darker. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. And then, it happened. The door to the barn where her gang was meeting burst open. Armed men flooded the room, and at their head was Deputy Thomas, his face as hard as stone. "Drop your weapon, Jade," he commanded, his voice cold and unwavering. For a moment, Jennifer and Jade stood frozen. Her double life had finally caught up with her. The man she had trusted above all others had outsmarted he. Slowly, she raised her hands, the cold weight of her gun slipping from her fingers. There was no escape now. Her secret was out. The people of Maplewood were shocked when they learned the truth. Their beloved sheriff woman they had trusted to protect them was the very criminal who had terrorized their town for years. Jennifer Lawson was arrested and sentenced to life in prison, her reign of terror over.